This question changed the whole trajectory of my career. I was speaking and performing for a group of investment bankers. There are a bunch of A-type personalities. It's a couple decades ago now. And after I finished my presentation, the president of the company came up to me and he asked me this question. How did you do that? Now, I'm used to that question because I perform magic and mentalism, but that's not what he was asking me about. He wanted to know how I was able to command that room of A-type personalities, how I was able to hold their attention. And obviously this was beyond just the ability to perform some magic tricks. He saw that I was able to come into the room and have people pay attention to me. Because he asked me that question, it changed the way I saw what I do. I saw the value in being able to help executives understand these skills that I've developed as a performer. And today I'm going to share some of what I taught him and what he employed in his career as president of this major company. Hi, I'm Derek Selinger. For the last 20 years, I have been an award-winning master magician, an award-winning filmmaker, and I've consulted with corporations on just developing their creativity and innovation. I've also worked with executives and leaders on developing their storytelling, their personal presence, and unlocking their personal creativity. So if you're an ambitious professional, an aspiring executive, or a business owner that wants to really further your personal presence and creativity, you're in the right place. So I'm going to give you 3 ideas or secrets that you can employ right now to command any room that you walk into at any time. I'm also, at the end of the video, going to talk about 2 different types of energy you could bring to these 3 skills that I'm going to teach you. And I also have a bit of encouragement for you. You see, it was a president of a company that asked me, how did I do that? Which means if you're feeling like you don't have it figured out, you don't know how to do this really well, it's okay, because we're all constantly figuring this out. I'm still a student of mastering my presence. I have mentors and coaches that I talk to, and that's why I'm able to talk to you and relay all this information that I've garnered throughout my career. And I know you are a busy person, so I'm going to try and go through this material quickly, and I'm including the slides in a download in the description below, free of charge, so that you could refer to this information. But please watch the whole video because I'm going to be touching on some nuances that I can't quite communicate through the slides. The first secret I call power posing. It's your physical presence. It's the body language you bring to the room. If you come into the room like you're a wallflower, like you're unconfident, and you have small body language, you are not going to command that room. People will probably not pay attention to you, and they may not even invite you into conversations. It's up to you to own the space that you're in, to walk in, as your mom probably told you when you were a kid, with your head held high and your shoulders back. That is probably the best advice mom ever gave us, to just really own the space we're in with confidence. Some have called this technique expansive body language, which means that you expand and own the space you're in. Now, there are some very specific poses that will help you. I'm just touch on a few. If you would like me to go in more depth, let me know in the comments below. But the first thing to keep in mind is that you're going to have more strength and more presence when you're in a standing position. So resist the urge to find that couch or that chair off to the corner really quickly and hide. You need to stand, own where you're at, and go and meet some people. Now, you want to have strong, personal, expansive presence, but you also don't want to look like the 21-year-old going to the club after a chest workout. Right? You don't want to look cheesy. So you need to find this rhythm, and the easiest way to think about it is to strike poses when you're engaging in conversation or even walking through the room that are very confident but aren't over the top. For example, don't clasp your hands behind your back. It's a weak posture and it makes you look smaller. Instead, let your arms drop to your side and just look really confident in your space. And you could bring your hands up in front of you into a neutral position, which gives a calm confident look. Another common thing we often do is we put our hands in our pockets. This also shrinks us, makes us look weak. Get your hands out of your pockets. If you're going to take a pose with your hands near your hips, literally put them on your hips. It's a very natural posture, especially when you're talking to a group. Put your hands on your hip and blade slightly to the group, and that'll look really, really natural. Now, I think you can get away with putting one hand in your pocket and talking with your other hand, kind of gesturing with the other hand. It's similar to having a hand on your hip. The main thing is keep those shoulders back, keep your chin up, and look strong and confident and own that space you're in. Now, I learned this in magic, and I'm going to show you just a little example of what I mean. You see, on stage, you need to really have a lot of presence if you're going to do something crazy like make cards appear from nowhere. Like, who does that? You need to look confident. Well, if I were to do a technique of making cards appear from nowhere and I hunch my body language, you could see it doesn't look that terribly impressive compared to standing straight and tall and pulling those cards out of nowhere with a lot of physical presence. The second idea is eye contact. Eye contact is huge. It's what connects us to each other. You need to have the courage to make eye contact with other people. Now, again, you don't want to take this too far and become creepy and go around staring at people in the eye,
Hey, listen, guys, we feel really terrible.
He's doing that weird eye contact thing. Don't look at him. Don't look at him.
Just never breaking eye contact. That's a little bit disconcerting. But a few things that you can do. The first is when you're walking through a room, let's say you're at a social event, like a cocktail party, at a corporate event or something like that, and you're moving through the room, again, with great physical body posture, look around the room and make eye contact with people with nice, soft eyes. Have soft eyes, warm eyes, and maybe even give a little smile and a nod as you're walking through. Perhaps they'll invite you into a conversation, or if you make significant eye contact with someone that you even don't know, you might not even know them, you can then invite yourself over and introduce yourself and start a conversation that may lead, I don't know, to a career move or to a business deal. Now, I just mentioned you don't want to look creepy and just stare at people in the eye. So you want to do something called using the eye contact triangle. I don't know if you've ever heard of this, but it's a really fascinating concept, and you probably do it naturally. And all it means is you shift your gaze from one eye to the other, then back again, and then every now and then look down at their mouth, especially when they're talking. You punctuate this with short glances away from them or at another person so that you break this eye contact tension, because the eyes are the window to the soul, and we actually can't handle just people staring at us like intently. But you need this kind of dance of eye contact to allow people to feel warm and invited and heard. It's a triangle, and if you find this kind of rhythm, you're going to find your interactions with people go way up. Try this in the workplace. Try this in social situations. It'll serve you well. Now that you have body language figured out and you're working on eye contact, you could move to this secret number 3, which is so powerful, and that is using silence to your advantage. Now, in this case, I'm not talking about listening, which is a superpower unto itself. If you take the time to listen to other people's stories, they will love you. Everybody wants to talk. So if you are a good audience and you listen to them and interact with their story, they're going to love that. But when it's time for you to talk, interact with what you're going to say, master the skill of pause. So this skill is just using breath to find moments where you can pause and add emphasis to what you're saying. So if you were talking to a couple of people, let's say, and you're telling them about a story from your childhood, it might look like something like this. I remember this one time we were at the lake. I was only 8 years old. No, I think I was 9. And it was beautiful. And I was at the lake with my friends. Okay, did you feel that, just that slight little breath there? I mean, that's a nothing story that I was telling you, but that slight little moment makes people lean in. It draws them in. What we naturally want to do is just run our sentences together because we're used to media. For example, in this particular situation, I have to be very careful about how long I pause because the medium does not allow for it. But when you are with people physically, there is a tremendous opportunity for these pauses to exist because you have a captive audience. They are right there with you physically. They can't just click away. So use those pauses to your advantage. And even if you're presenting on a camera like this, pauses can be powerful. So those are the 3 ideas: power, posture, eye contact, and pauses. Let's talk very briefly about the 2 types of energies you can bring to the room to really command the room. The first energy may seem obvious, and that is to bring a real upbeat, charismatic, energetic energy. Obviously, this can be taken way over the top. You could come in yelling and screaming. Of course, you're going to command the room. Everybody's going to pay attention to you, but they're also probably not going to think well of you, particularly in a business situation. But if you come into the room with a lot of energy and your face is bright and your eyes are wide and you're instantly looking for people and making eye contact and smiling at them and waving and going over and shaking hands, if you come with that type of energy, you will very quickly attract people to you. It's not always appropriate to do this, but when it is super powerful. When I'm in performance mode, when I'm the entertainer or speaker, this is how I come into the room because I'm the guy. I'm the guy that everybody just listened to. And if I kind of go around small and slinking, I'm not owning my presence, my stage presence that continues after presenting. So I need to be very up and bright and let people know that I'm open for business and conversation. And this allows me to command the room and bring people into my circle and have meaningful conversations with them and really help them in their world as they help me in mine. Now, as I mentioned, that's not always the most appropriate thing, or it may be that somebody else is the big star of that moment. Like if you're going to a dinner party that your CEO is hosting and you're not the CEO, obviously, you don't want to upstage him. So you're not going to go in with that type of energy because you don't want him to feel lesser than as the host of that event. So you just go in with a slightly lesser energy, a bit more muted, but you take all the skills I've just explained to you and go find conversations and pockets around the room that allow you to begin to have meaningful dialogue and conversation and really command those conversations in a way that further who you are to those people. A little bit of secret sauce that'll help you as well is if you do something cool in your life. I don't know what that is. Let's say that you paint. Let's say that you're a hobbyist painter. If you start incorporating that into your conversations and telling people that you do that for fun and you enjoy it, that little piece of information will make you stick out in their mind. You will be remembered. And here's the cool thing. They very well may talk to somebody else in the room about you and your legend will spread. This is often why people buy nice cars or have fancy watches or go on expensive trips, because those little markers make them unusual in a social context. In a business context as well, this works very well. And because you stayed right to the end of the video, I'm going to give you a little secret that I use all the time. It is probably the most powerful thing you could do in any room, whether it's social or business. If you can introduce people to each other, if you could be the introducer, where you know 2 people and you bring them together and you edify each of those individuals to the other person and make the introduction, you will be the star of that room. It is magic what happens when you become the introducer in a room. People will appreciate you on such a deep level. There's a whole art to that. I'll cover it in another video. Let me know if you'd like to hear that as well. But for today, keep going after your dreams, keep rising through the ranks, live bright, love big.